do what I do and forget that it's there.
I'm gonna go ahead and let our two people in the waiting room in. Well, Chuck, it is 7:01. What do you say we go ahead and get started?
All right, well, good evening to everybody out there. We are coming to you live from the Goldenberg Hurricane Central Weather Center, waiting for rain that will eventually arrive. But tonight, we have a great cast of characters here. For those of you who don't know me already, I'm Chuck Pippin, the Council Commissioner, joined by a wonderful cast of folks here. Tim Sherrill, you'll see here on to my right, District Commissioner from Monon District, and Jordan Sandow, aka Stewart. To my left, that's an inside joke. To go over some great stuff, and online we have some other wonderful folks. John Sumner is with us, our Director of Field Services, as well as Sophie Swift, one of our wonderful program leaders, and those who go to Camp Kick the Wind know Sophie very well, as a few other folks on the line tonight. So the good news is you will not have to listen to me talk all night long. I've employed other folks to do that for me who are much more eloquent and well-spoken than myself, and we're going to kick that off here very shortly with the next slide. So the very first thing on top of everybody's mind is Mr. Sumner is going to give us a fall recruitment update, and I am told this evening that our September recruitment is going very well, and that we are coming in hot and heavy. So John, give us an update.
Sure thing, sure thing. We're in the process right now of scheduling our second round recruitments. Our first round recruitments went very, very well. This fall, we recruited 350 in August. We recruited 350 what we would call traditional church basement type of units, kids. We got new kids from 350 parents, and we're excited about all those new participants. And then we got some more kids from our after school programs in our Scouting for Tomorrow and some of our initiatives groups, totaling 1,700 new youth getting scouting program in the month of August. So we're at a point now where we're moving on to September, and we've done a great job with getting our second rounds scheduled. We're trying to get to the point where we will continue on with growing our traditional programming, and we're doing well with that. What I wanted to do tonight was talk about second round recruitments specifically, and talk about some of the tips that I've learned over the years that I can give some folks that may be conducting some of these second round recruitments. We want to conduct second round recruitments preferably away from the unit meeting night. A lot of times folks want to do this on a PAC meeting night, and you have to understand that you have to put yourself in the place of a new parent. A new parent is coming into a situation where everyone's in uniform, everyone is looking like they know things that you could not possibly know, jargon and a lot of acronyms that we use in scouting that may not necessarily be inviting to a new parent. Please try to keep your unit or your group or your PAC into the mode of having a recruitment night that's away from a pack meeting night, because it just becomes a mess, an unorganized mess rather. Bring information, but do not overload the possible recruits with every small detail about the pack. A lot of times, we want to go through the process of showing everything that we possibly could do. Parents are there. I'm an exhausted parent of a small children, and I understand that we just want to get the job done. Sign them up for scouts. They want to be in scouts. Let's get the paperwork done, and get the job done as far as getting folks involved. Inform families that have youth that are playing sports, that we can work around the sports schedule. Football, soccer, all these different sports that are happening in the fall compete with what we're trying to get accomplished in scouting. Um, we we're not a sport. We are a program. And we need to give the message to these parents that it's not an either or. It's a, hey, look, we can work with you. We can work with those practices and those meetings that you have for sports. But in many instances, many of the kids that are participating in sports are also in scouts. So please make that message known, and make that a talking point when you're talking to parents that have kids that are involved with sports. Close the sale. We're selling the opportunity to join our great organization. So don't be afraid to ask for commitment. We're at a point now where parents are making the decision, am I going to spend the $165 on recruitment? What are we going to do as a family? Is this a decision that we need to make right now? Well, hey, look, it's an impulse buy. The child, the youth, the girl or boy is enticed by this enough to draw the parent to come to an actual join night. If they've done that, then there's a level of commitment that's already been established. And we need to make sure that we are closing the deal. Talk to them about, hey, look, this needs to happen. You're here now. We want to invite you. We'd love to have you involved with our pack. We'd love to have you involved with what we're doing. This is a great program for our children, and your children are going to benefit from the program that's involved with Cub Scouting. Okay. So those are some of the things, those are some of the points that I want to make. Another update on fall recruitment. Council is now in process of recruiting thousands of youth, like I mentioned. Many of our packs conducted first round recruitments, resulting in 350 new youth members. Second round recruitments are now more important than ever due to our renewal system. Now we're at a point where renewal has become an instance where we're no longer in the recharter cycle, where everyone renews their membership at the same time of the year. I mean, different things that are done throughout the year that change the way that we register kids. So we need to make special attention, or pay special attention rather, to getting kids involved, getting recruitments, and getting membership in-house, so that when we do lose membership, we're not at a point where we're losing more than we're gaining. Second round recruitments are now more important than ever, like I said, due to our recruitment system. Conducting second round recruitments is a great way to make connections and recruit families that may have been missed during the first joining opportunity. You know, we were in August. Many of our packs did recruitments the first week of August, the first week of school rather, and that can be a problem. My family just moved here from Nebraska, and a lot of things are going on at once, and a lot of things are thrown at you as a parent. And that second round may sometimes be unfettered by all of the outside noise that's coming in the beginning of the school year. So the second round may be an opportunity for us to be able to get kids that didn't necessarily get the message in August. So we need to take advantage of that. And that's something that we're trying to press with the staff. We're trying to press with all of our especially our Cub level volunteers. And it's something that we need to continue to work on here within the next few weeks until we can get all our second rounds done. So let's go on into the popcorn promotion. Is it up there?
It is.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, great. One of our promotions that we're doing with our popcorn company Trails End is Pop Into Scouting. Pop Into Scouting is a program that's been established with some help from Trails End and basically a precedent set by the Michigan Crossroads Council. And we're at a point now where we are getting kids involved with this program to offset costs that are attributed to signing up for scouting. $165 baseline, it may be a little bit much for some families. What we're trying to do is we're trying to offset those costs by offering kids an opportunity to sell $520 worth of popcorn that would get us would actually, after we get through the point of giving Trails End their third and we take our third and the unit takes their third or whatever, would get them to get the scout to the point where they wouldn't have to pay anything. So zero costs if you sell that much popcorn. A lot of parents would appreciate that. I know it's a program that it's starting to move the needle a little bit. I think we got about 19, 20 kids involved with it now. It's growing. It's starting to grow. We're taking the first 1,000 kids that sign up for the program to sell popcorn and get us to the point where we can offset the costs attributed to scouting. And we know that the cost is going up. We can't pretty much change that, but what we can do is offer parents an opportunity to be able to offset the cost by selling popcorn. $520 worth of popcorn gets you a free membership, and I think that's a pretty decent deal. And we are promoting that via our roundtables. Is on our council website. It's on the council Facebook page. It's in all of our media. So we're pushing that constantly, trying to get as many kids involved as possible, and get kids to the point where they're basically paying their own way. So it's a great program, and we're excited about it. And I think that is what I had tonight, folks. So.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. I know you're getting ready to go coach some football there, hopefully in good weather, and really appreciate you calling in to give us an update on everything. And we're going to move on, and we'll take some more questions at the end. We might not have John, but we'll connect with him on anything on the membership side. So thanks again, John. Once again, this is a great part of the year for us. Bringing new families into scouting is one of the most exciting things we get to do. And there's so much great programming in all of our units going on right now. And I know personally visiting some of the units where they've prepped to talk to new families and bring them into our group is one of the most important things that they get to do all year long. And somebody that does it better than anybody else I know is my good friend Tim Sherrill here with the Monon District, who has a great presentation. Some length and content to it, but everything he's got, I think, is time tested and proven. Good tips of advice on how to get these new families engaged, how to wrap our arms around them, and how to really make them feel like a real part of scouting. So Tim, why don't you take us through the content?
Well, thank you, Chuck. I'm excited to be here. This is a really neat part of leadership in my mind. And as a former Cub master, I want to kind of bring the discussion here really focus around Cub units, but the same things apply to our Scouts BSA units as well. First of all, as Chuck said, I am the Monon District Commissioner, but more importantly, I'm the father of 2 Eagle Scouts and husband to Scoutmaster who started a girl unit 3 years ago and has grown that to be over 20 girls. And here we are all together at the National Jamboree in West Virginia, and I'll be returning there in July for the Summit Experience. So we've got 20 scouts and leaders headed there from Jenny's troop. So leadership is your ability to hide your panic from others. Lazoe. So this is a Chinese philosopher, ancient Chinese philosopher, and you do not need to know everything in order to be a leader. And so as we bring people in, we need to diffuse some of the concerns and some of the anxiety that may come, and we need to try to draw people out of their seats. Now, how do we do that? And what are we going to look at today? So today we want to look at how we engage parents as leaders. And this is the goals of this are to bring strong leadership in packs. The same thing applies to troops, but I'll be addressing my language more towards packs. And the goal here is to give scouts the best experience possible, but we deliver that experience through parent involvement. So how do we help parents grow in their leadership skills? And then how do we build succession planning? Packs need to be constantly building succession planning in order to make sure that next generation of leaders is there. It's very easy through just one set of turnover from adult leaders to have a pack really dissolve. So now parents are not leaping into leadership positions. Parents are coming to these meetings. They're excited about scouting. They may not be excited about leadership. So how do we help them turn that corner? So first of all, I want us to kind of check some of our biases and assumptions at the door. We need to put our minds in the mindset of what these parents are thinking about, what is important in their life. So many of the parents are facing financial pressures. Millennial parents are more likely to have student debt, rising housing costs, and the need to provide for a stable environment for their children. And many times the work-life balance, there's modern careers take a lot of time, sometimes even 2 jobs in some situations. And that makes it very difficult to balance volunteer work, your paying job, and family life. And that adds to stress. Unlike when I was a Cub Scout and the leaders there's now digital distractions. There's this new set of tasks that come into our day, and this can take a good part of our time. It's also a good way for us to connect potentially. Millennial parents often have an information overload. There's too much information, too many ways to communicate, and that can sometimes lead to a kind of paralysis just because there's so many voices coming from so many directions. Which do you listen to? Which do you filter? Now, there's a lot of expectations on today's parents. So if you're a Cub Scout parent, there's a lot of things that we expect from you. And so how do we look at these folks to not be perfect parents, but to try to transition them into something that would be a useful leader in a pack? Along with all of this, you see rapid technological changes and environmental concerns. So just when we begin, let's make sure that we keep in mind that there's a lot on the minds of today's Cub Scout parent, that it may be some barriers to how we bring them into leadership. So how do we tackle this challenge? So first of all, we need to be humble. We need to know that when we're asking for someone's time, when we're asking for their energy, when we're asking them to leave their comfort zone, we need to make sure that we are understood. That isn't an ask. We're pulling them away from something into something else. And so it begins by just welcoming people. So as people come into the room, make sure they're welcome, eye contact, greet them. And then maybe not the leadership up front in uniform, but maybe you have other folks that might sit in the back with the moms or with the dads that are a little disengaged from some of the things going on. Have someone, leader, sit with them, get to know them. learn their names, and then move things forward to some sort of simple ask. Now, this might be something like, if you have people come early, hey, can you help me set up the chairs here? Or we need to have a table over here. Or we're gonna be running this activity tonight. Could you run one of the stations for me? I've got a really simple way for you to run this. We just really need an adult to be involved in that. Maybe then again, kind of taking things, putting things back away at the end. So engage, start with something simple. Essentially, for me, like exercising, like the hardest part is to put the shoes on, right? Like it's to get moving, to get out of the chair, but once you're moving, then it's easier to continue. So how do we start with the simple ask, we encourage, we repeat. Now, an important piece, and sometimes we forget this, if we don't give good instructions, we can't assume that someone knows how to prepare to the setup for a blue and gold banquet, or we can't guess that someone knows how to help with the concessions for a Pinewood Derby. So we need to make sure when we are engaging these leaders that we're clear about what we're asking, that the steps are there, and then engage them and move them forward. Be inclusive and positive. There's really one of the most important things is to engage your leadership is to just ask. Sometimes people are waiting for a specific eye contact ask to bring them forward. And then at the end, make sure that you're thanking your volunteers, you're recognizing them. And this is part of our value system too. So when we recognize the leaders, even in front of the scouts, we are showing our scouts that recognition, that thanks are part of the cycle of how this all works very well. So let's take a look at how today's parents are different than prior generations.
Tim, while you're taking a drink there, we did have a comment online or a suggestion that you could ask people to bring cookies. And it's a really simple request, but it tells you a lot depending upon what they bring. If they bring if they make homemade cookies, they might have a little bit more time or willingness to volunteer. Or if they buy the store-bought cookies that you get right there by the front, that they just ran and grabbed it and go. They might want to help. They've clearly indicated that, but they may not be able to do quite as much with it. So just a little trick that was shared with us in the chat.
Yeah, good time, talent, and treasure. You kind of differentiate where someone might be able to help out. There's a great Aaron on Scouting article around volunteering and checking what kind of leaders you may have by the cookies that they bring to the event. So, all right, changing generations. Today's parents are often looking at a dual income, long hours, shared parenting, and this is just the fact of the matter for a lot of your elementary school parents. And whereas certainly my in my upbringing, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She had really frankly much of her involvement in the community. Her job, if you will, was really through volunteering, whether that was as a church organist or a choir director or other things of that nature, right? So that generation had a strong sense of duty. Today, we have a strong sense of exhaustion, right? So how do we kind of work through that? Today's parents need to communicate using technology. We need to meet them where they are. We need to communicate in the ways that they want to receive communication, not the ways that we wanted to or that work for us. We need to meet people where they are. Now, kind of back to the cookie thing, like volunteer needs to align with the personal interest. So how do we build on a value or something that's already energizing them in their life? Now, how do you learn this? Well, you probably need to talk to someone, and you might not have time before or afterwards, right? So you might need someone that's not up front in leadership, maybe not leading a den part of the meeting, but someone that can then engage with these parents in the back. My good friend Chris Graham in Wabash Valley, he said his recruiting technique was to look for the moms who were paying attention during the PAC meeting. And he would go engage with them, because if they're not on their phone and they're not distracted, then they're already engaged. Now they might need to be brought forward. You need to activate them. You need to bring them out of the seated position to bring them into that volunteer aspect. Again, that's where maybe that simple ask can help to do that there. So a lot of the ways that we get involved today, it's a little bit more of a try before you buy. So a project-based or a short-term assignment, Like instead of saying, I need you to be a den leader, you say, I need you to be an assistant for one meeting to the den leader, and the material's already prepared. We already have a leader, but we need a second adult. And would you be helpful? Would you be there to do this? And we would like you to run this activity, right? And so now you're starting to get someone engaged. You're starting to, you've invited them with something that is bite-sized and not intimidating. You've clarified the tasks so that it's simple and clear as to what needs to happen next. And now we need to start to engage them to see that this is really a fun activity. All right, the last 2 points here, filter recruiting messages. So we need to make sure that we deliver value in every interaction, and then make sure that we are, we know this, scouting is a value-driven organization. So let's use those values and let's draw upon those values with our volunteers as well. All right. So what are some good keys to success? So we want to make scout leadership into an experience. And so we need to pull parents into a satisfying, engaging area. Now, the people on this call all understand this, right? Like all of us understand that scouting is a worthwhile thing to do. So we need to sell it. We need to bring people in and not through a sense of duty or a sense of obligation, but out of an experience and a way to enhance the experience for our children. So start with servant leadership. So again, we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for our youth, for youth development, for leadership. And the same thing here is for leadership. So the parents learning to be leaders is having them leave their comfort zone, just like we ask scouts to leave their comfort zone. As parents do that, and through that experience, they'll learn, they'll develop, they will become better leaders that can then come back to their family, back to their work, and in other places. Let's see. So I'm going to move along to keep this paced well. And next slide. Leadership is teamwork. People need to be part of a team, but we need to be welcoming. One of the I don't really dig into personality profiles in this presentation, but it is something that's important to understand the makeup of your different volunteers. But in the DISC profile, we have there's a set of folks that belonging is their most important characteristic. And so if we don't create that sense of belonging, that welcoming element, the sense that you are part of the team, then they instead feel negative feelings of being left out or excluded. And so we need to involve everyone, be engaging, and build that framework. So be persistent, but in a friendly way, right? So we don't want to shame someone into volunteering. You may get them for one opportunity, but you will lose them later. And so what we need to do is to use a positive encouragement about, to show that this is fun, to show that you're part of a team, to show that this is easy to do, and that there's a good experience there. That's a good way to bring people forward. And then there's the recognition piece. In the bottom here, I talk about recruit your recruiter. So take your friendliest person that's on the leadership team and have them help bring others to the party, right? So we all bring different elements to the table. Don't forget someone that can be your leadership recruiter that will, who's the person that remembers everyone's name, right? That's a good person to choose to help bring other people in. And that glue, that energy, those connections can really be powerful in bringing parents forward out of the chairs and into a leadership spot. All right, so why do parents, what are some of the obstacles that we need to overcome? So we need to enable that sense of belonging and avoid being overbearing. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say that we all are learning here, because we are, especially, Cub leaders have a lot of anxiety, right? There's a lot of things that they wish they knew better, but but again, in the end, all we need to do is to make sure the scouts have a good time. All right, so let's enable an experience, make it fun, make it satisfying. Let's use the game with the purpose element that we use with our scouts, use it with the parents as well. If you don't have that, you're not feeling connected, you may feel that the task isn't worthwhile. So how do we enable folks and bring people in? Another piece is to talk about our scouting goals. What are the outcomes that we have? One of my favorite things to do is when we have like a den chief come from Scouts BSA, or you have an older scout that can be present. Maybe it's an older sibling or something that can be there. That is the product that we have, right? It's the Eagle Scouts that are the outcome of this whole piece. And so that's a long journey from that lion cub or that tiger scout. But you want to know, where are we going with this? Why are we doing this? And we have some really neat outcomes there, things that I think are still valued by parents and by scouts. And then let's make sure that we're avoiding the gift element and building up achievable assignments, things that can be done with the help of others. So if we summarize a little bit, parents are busy and tired, right? That's the starting point. So let's just acknowledge that. Maybe you can use some of that to engage a parent, to say, hey, how's your day been? And listen, right? Be a listener. Take what they are giving you and understand it. Make that a connection. Maybe the first interaction with them is not the time to ask them to take that next step. But at the right point, invite them, energize them, say, I need someone to help with cookies for the next meeting. And I think you would be someone that could help with that. Is that something you'd be willing to do? Right? People are often in a position to say yes to something that is direct, that's friendly, and that's attainable. And then energize them to say, that's awesome. I'm glad we can do that. And maybe you even send a reminder the day before the PAC meeting so that you make sure those cookies still do show up, because we always, all of us can get distracted along the way. In the end, duty and guilt are not going to be the motivators. Like when I first learned how to recruit parents into den leaders is you bring all the parents to the parent meeting, you close the door and you say, no one's leaving here until we have 5 den leaders, or we have a new cub master, whatever it is, right? That is, I'm not sure that was a great policy 20 years ago. It certainly isn't a good one now. What you're going to do is disengage parents. You're going to send them away. What we can do is to bring them together, talk about your own personal experience, talk about the enjoyment you've had. You can say some of this is tough, some of this was uncomfortable, I had to learn new things, I was anxious, or I wasn't comfortable doing this the first time, but I learned, and I had people here to support me. And then once I got through that a couple times, I really enjoyed it, and it turned out to be satisfying. A lot of the things that are most satisfying in life are the things that are also difficult, but we need to pull people over that hump, get them out of the chair, moving forward, and build that momentum. All right. Benefits of being a Cub Scout leader. I just want to touch on this a little bit. I think most of us on the call understand this, but when we are selling this to a millennial parent, we want to make sure that there's an experience positive element to this. One of the things we saw through COVID and we see as we look at millennial spending habits, more money is being spent on adventure, excursions, travel, vacation, and less on some of the personal stuff, some of the materialism, less on the car. And so we want to engage with that sense of adventure. We want to engage with that belonging and that next step. For me, like, different things motivate people in different ways, but for me, a patch or an award or something like that tends to be a pretty big draw. And so let's use the tools that we have as Cub Scout leaders there. And then as we move into supporting volunteers, as we have people that are taking that first step, maybe taking the second step, how do we make sure that we keep folks engaged and occupied. So we want to look at flexibility. Let's not be too constrained about how all of this needs to happen. We need to bring technology forward into how we do scouting. If there are ways to equip people, maybe instead of trying to do a committee meeting in person every time, there might be virtual opportunities for us to do that, especially Cub Scout parents, evening time, getting kids to bed, right? That's a tough time to try to pull people away. Let's figure out how to do that. Modern volunteers want flexible scheduling, balance, opportunities to mix the virtual with the physical, in-person piece. Maybe not a cookie cutter type of role, but customizable involvement. Something that's low stress, high energy, good satisfaction, and bring some good work-life balance. All right, I'm going to move through this just a little more. It's again, supporting resources. We want to make sure that we're engaging the tools that are there. I tell you what, the scouting program is a top-notch program, from the resources, the programming, the PhDs in leadership development that have written this material. The updates we had to the Cub Scouting program this year to help align it around different activities that could be done, vertically through different grades and have age-appropriate safety training, age-appropriate experiences. There's some excellent opportunities here, and we want to make sure we're utilizing that. And so that means you need to be trained, right? So you need to know where these opportunities are. So you take that training and then bring that back to your unit and make sure that people in your new volunteers are experiencing that as well. There's onboarding, some excellent online training. There's opportunities in the summer camps, whether that's your Cub camps or your Scouts BSA. All right, so how do we bring this together? So no one can argue with your story. So when you share authentically about your volunteer experience, if you're passionate about what you do, no one can argue with your experience. Now, someone else's experience might be different, but you can say, this is why I do this, and I would love to bring more people into it because I would love to share that positive experience with you. How do we deliver impact to Scouts? Let's talk about how Scouts have been impacted through this. I have some favorite Scout stories. I'll share a 20-second tidbit here. I remember the very first border review that I sat on. It was a second-class Scout, and he answered questions by staring at his feet and had one-word answers. And then later on, I helped assist him with an Eagle Scout, preparing him for his Eagle Scout border review. He was articulate. He spoke in full sentences. He had done a fabulous Eagle Scout service project, and because of we have the aims and methods in scouting. One of them is association with adults. He now was comfortable speaking to adults and articulating his goals. Right, that is the product that we have here. So let's share that. Let's share that passion, and show how, as leaders, we're impacting Scouts through that. All right. Wow, I have a lot of slides. Okay. Scouting is a family activity. At the top, I showed my own family picture there. Like I got to pay 4 different fees for National Jamboree. So, right, that's scouting can, it's a family activity and sometimes is an expensive one, right? But I love that both Scouts and leaders can learn together and we can both grow. I will tell you, I've learned more. I've had better professional development through scouting than through any work training that I've taken. And that's why I'm passionate. That's why I'm speaking to you here today. All right. Concerns. So why might people say no? So parents might not think they're ready. They might say, I'm not the right person for you. And so you want to have answers prepared for that. Like, so before you ask someone to help with something, you might consider, why would someone say no, or what might people say? Oh, I'm already scheduled for that time. I don't think I'm the right person for that. So you can say, well, we have flexible timing. It doesn't need to be on that day. We can have you do that the day before and it will all be prepared for it. Or you might say, I think you are the right person. And I'm like, there isn't a perfect volunteer for this, but I think you are the perfect person for this. That, you know, you might not be everything that, you might think that you don't bring everything you need, but I think you do, right? So you can use that positive energy. You are giving them the energy to then move them forward into that volunteer position. All right. Share from your current leaders. Make sure we balance the time that we expect from our volunteers, and then talk about those success stories as well, and tell your story of the first time you were pulled out of that chair, the first time you were recruited to be a den leader, or things of that nature. All right. I like this. Tell a story of how you started, and talk about a fun time that leaders have had. Make this a place people want to come to, right? Make this an attractive team that people want to belong in. And that's not easy, but we need to phrase things positively. We need to talk about outcomes. All right, so I'm going to summarize a lot of what we just talked about. So in the beginning, we need to build relationships. Let's greet people, learn their names, make connections. Let's start with a friendly ask, simple and direct. Pick a reasonable task, make them part of a team, invite them to be part of a team. I want you to help me with this thing. I think you're the perfect person for it. Let's make sure we're organized. So we want to outline the task, communicate. You can't fire and forget with a new volunteer. You can't just give them the task and not check back in. You can check in, but not micromanage. But let's make sure people are confident about that next step. And so before, you can ask, are you ready? During, are you doing okay? And after, you can say, how did that go? And be on that journey with them so they don't feel like they're alone. And then in the end, praise and recognize, be direct and specific. I love it when scouts can help do the recognition, have them make a card or have them recognize their parent. A scout just loves to be able to do that grown-up thing, to be able to recognize an adult. And then use both real and fun rewards. You know, Chuck, my friend here, helped make sure that, you know, I have some of the awards that are now sewn onto my shirt, and those are meaningful to me. There's a criteria for that. You need to have an application process and approval and signatures and purchasing stuff at the scout shop. But you can also just print a certificate, or you can have a paper plate and a Sharpie, and you can say, you know, world's greatest cookie bringer. You know, just, you can make up awards, and people know they're made up. People know they're kind of worthless, just that paper plate. But by doing that, you put time and energy into acknowledging their contribution, and that goes a long way. All right. So that feeling when you get your leadership inspires others to lead and succeed, that's a good one, right? So let's keep in mind what our goals are. We want the outcome of that successful leadership, not just so that the scouts have good leaders, but so that the leaders have left their comfort zone, learned something new, and have engaged in that activity. And to round this all out, if you would like to know more about these kinds of things, we have excellent adult leader training in the spring, and in the fall, we offer our Wood Badge course. And I know you may have heard this in the past, or you may have already been a participant, but part of this professional development, how we recruit leaders, how we communicate well, how we listen, how we problem solve and deal with conflict management, these are all tools that are brought together through that course. And so I want to make sure we put in a plug for that. Do you have any questions from the chat, or anyone have something to share on the Zoom call?
We had one comment that these are clear, actionable, bite-sized steps. Really well done. Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
Well, Tim, as always, you do a fantastic job explaining some things that are extremely relevant for everything we're dealing with right now in scouting. You know, the change in parenting and generations and stresses that we have are always evolving. I remember in the recognition piece, I visited a PAC years ago who handed out Scout socks as recognition. And by the time those kids, parents and leaders all crossed over into units to be in BSA troops, they all had Scout socks. So that was one of the sought after items, but it made a big difference, a good way to connect. So thanks very much. Next, we have the very talented and exciting Sophie Swift. Speaking of Wood Badge, one of my fellow Wood Badge staffers that I spent some time with here recently, has some things to go over here on the program side. Sophie, welcome tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here with you all. I've got just one slide right after this. University of Scouting. So if you're not aware, our University of Scouting is happening soon, October 26th. It's at Belzer Middle School. If you've been before, you know that we've kind of been trying to rotate this location around to make it a little bit more accessible across the council because we've got a pretty large territory. Some things that are really, I guess, kind of the highlight of University of Scouting is it's an experience that's great for those brand new leaders, but it also has really interesting and engaging content for those seasoned volunteers as well. You know, preparing for a Philmont trek, or just the basics of Cub Scouts and what do you do now that you've joined it. So we cover a lot of stuff. Some really cool Midway booths are going to be there this year. Our Midway is sort of this big space dedicated to information that's within Scouting. We'll also have some people outside of Scouting present, you know, some sports teams, some outside groups sharing fun information about how to get engaged in the community. So that's a really cool space. New this year, we're having some merit badge classes. So typically the University of Scouting has been sort of an adults only zone. You know, it's just all of the adult leaders and it's kind of their space to be trained and to have fellowship. But we're really excited to kind of expand a little bit more. So we've got 15 merit badges that are going to be offered this year at the University of Scouting. They're sort of Eagle required focused. Should be a really great opportunity for scouts. And, you know, as a parent, you don't have to leave your kid at home necessarily if they're in a troop. So, you know, that makes it easy to attend. Information, the link there, the QR code can bring you straight to the registration page. You can attend University of Scouting, again, regardless of whatever level you are in Scouting. Something that's really cool about this training opportunity is we have sort of like a progressive experience through our bachelor's, master's, doctorate degrees. There's some criteria on the registration page if that's something that you're interested in seeing, sort of that progressive experience of participating. You get patches. If patches is a thing you like, that's the way to get them for the University of Scouting. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Part of my role as the program director is I advise the training committee for the council. So University of Scouting, Wood Badge, NYLT, all that fun, cool training stuff is something that I get to work with many, many great volunteers to help deliver. Any immediate questions, comments, concerns?
Well, Sophie, thanks again. And I think the two things I'm thinking about while you're talking is just the networking opportunities that we have at these events for volunteers from across the council and all across the districts to get together and see each other, and they make great lifelong connections and friendships. That's always been part of my joy in going to these events. The other thing is, I'm sure Sophie would say, anybody that wants to help teach some merit badge classes, it sounds like she could use the help on that. So Sophie will help broadcast any needs there, but anybody wants to stick their hand up and help, I'm sure Sophie would take your name and number and get a hold of you. So thanks, Sophie. So moving on, we have Jordan Sandow next to talk, our Fall Creek District Director. Mr. Jordan, we're going to talk about the other big and exciting thing that happens this time of year, and that is popcorn.
Woo, popcorn. Thank you, Chuck. Thanks for having me this evening. So I'm also one of the, I'm the assistant staff advisor for the popcorn sale. I say we're halfway through the season of scouts earning their way to fund their program. So I just wanted to share some couple reminder updates as we're rounding out this sale. So today we just had our fifth replenishment opportunity, which went very well. Next week, our next opportunity will be next Thursday. So order will open up in the leader dashboard tomorrow. And you have until Sunday, 11:59 p.m. midnight to place the order. And then pickup will be next Thursday, October 3rd. So if you're at Belzer, we run replenishment pickup from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then IDS by the airport, runs from 12 to 4:30.
And Jordan, just wanted to call that there is a typo on the slide I see, so there's not a pickup on September 29th. It's actually October 3rd, correct? The second bullet point is,
It says September.
It's just
29th.
3 days after.
that's like Sunday, and I
Oh.
don't think that's correct, so I think you mean
No,
October 3rd.
No, sorry, September 29th is the order is due.
Oh,
Yep, so this Sunday,
got
September
it.
29th.
I
Yeah,
see it.
By 11:59 PM, sorry, that was a little confusing on that formatting, yeah. So September 29th, this Sunday by midnight. If you have any orders that need to be fulfilled, that can be placed, by that date. And then pickup will be on October 3rd, next Thursday. So then we do have a couple weeks, of time, before the next order is due. But it doesn't mean that there's not opportunity for scouts to still sell. So we definitely still have take order forms, so the printed forms here at the office. Is there an updated slide on there? Okay, no, okay, so we do have a couple, links available for the resources that we have. So if you visit cacin.us/popcorn, we have the take order forms there as well. Also some guides on how to place an order. We also have some visuals. If your scouts do better with goal setting for themselves, also an opportunity to learn about goal setting. So we have a $500 popcorn goal, $1,000 popcorn goal. And there's check boxes that the scouts can use, so you can sell X number from each product. And once all the check boxes are filled, they can also use that thermometer to fill, that they've hit their goal. I think this can also be tied well into the pop into scouting. So if you have $500, you hit your $500 goal, you have one more $20 bag of white cheddar to sell, then you have paid for your registration, for scouting. So I think that's a good tie-in with our pop into scouting promotion, currently. There are definitely still plenty of storefront hours that are available, and more are being inputted into the leader dashboard. So if you have a kernel or if you have a team to helping with storefronts, that can kind of help monitor when those are being inserted, uploaded, for your scouts to take advantage of. And just because there is not a Trails In book storefront in the leader dashboard does not mean you cannot go to a storefront. So you are more than welcome to visit a local store that works best for your family. If there's one close by that's high foot traffic, or even farmers markets, or if there's other like high foot traffic opportunities, those are great opportunities to utilize as a storefront as well. And then wagon sales. So if you have some product available, your kernel has product available to take around door to door, or even working with as a pack, maybe a pack meeting night, you go pick a neighborhood in your area, and go visit as a pack, and maybe you can work together, or a troop. The scouts can work together of one is holding the sign, the other one is selling, and even learn best tips and tricks if you have some top sellers in your unit as well. So, so again, some opportunities, some resources that we have. cacin.us/popcorn. We also have an email address that's monitored by myself and Daphne Valier. We help monitor that if there's any extra support or questions, or if you have damaged product, you go to popcorn@crossroadsbsa.org. There we are able to provide support if you have any questions, comments, concern. And we also weekly on Wednesdays, we have a called the Kernel Journal that gets sent out to all registered popcorn sellers. Talks about tips and tricks for having a successful sale. We also highlight the top 20 sellers across the council. So we were able to do some shout outs recognizing some hardworking scouts across there as well. Is there any questions, comments, or popcorn? Thank you.
Well, Jordan, thanks very much. I've got 3 scouts and I've got a lot of inventory. I got a lot of selling to catch up on. So I'm feeling the pressure tonight after hearing all that great information. Some council updates as we round out the top of the hour. I guess I get to talk to you for just a little bit. The big thing coming up here at the end of the year is our governor's luncheon. Save the date for December 18th, Lucas Oil Stadium. You haven't been, you got to go. If you have been, please bring others with you. This is where you get to make your gift to scouting, listen to Governor Holcomb for the last time, speak at the governor's lunch. I believe we'll have some special tributes at this event as well, but please take note of this. And if you have folks in your unit that would like to attend and make a gift, if you have folks in your community that would like to attend and make a gift, if you have neighbors that would like to attend and make a gift, friends and family and other scout leaders, this is the place to go. Our next slide is going to be some dates. CSC Hutton. Okay, so 207 people are signed up for this. That is a small percentage of the overall leaders that are out there. We try very hard to advertise a way for leaders to get information that they don't have to work very hard to see. It just, you sign up, it spits out the stuff you want to see into your inbox. Sign up for it to hub.crossroadsbsa.org, and we will funnel to you all the great things that you need to know about with this council. And obviously, there's registration links that are coming with it. So if you were going to go to University Scouting and help Sophie out, you could probably find it right here, I'm willing to guess. We have a happening and highlights. What is it? It's a monthly resource for all things scouting in Central Indiana. This does come up through, I believe, our website.
Email.
And email
Facebook.
and Facebook, so it's all over the place, but it's really kind of a concentrated amount of information on what's going on in a sequential order here in lots of different categories. We pulled up one right here, training. It lists all the different links to that, unit service, membership, popcorn. Again, trying to find ways for this stuff to be available in a very concentrated way on all sources of media that we do have. So please look for happenings and highlights that come out. And then also some upcoming dates. I hope the virtual forums have useful information. We feel like this is our best council roundtable format, for lack of a better term, that we can use to speak directly to all of the unit volunteers. These virtual forums are open to everybody, not just key folks, but we have one coming up October 24th, November 1st, I'm sorry, November 1st through 3rd is Commissioner Conference. Virtual forum is October 24th. October 26th is University Scouting. Next virtual forum after that's November 18th. So 4 dates on this slide of great importance. And again, the two other virtual forums are listed here, and there'll be links to that to sign up. The Commissioner Conference, which we haven't talked a lot about tonight, again, open to all. This is going to be at Camp Kick-the-Weenan. I'll probably have my good friend Tim Sherrill with me to help put on some more great information. But one of the big things about the Commissioner Conference everybody likes is all us adults go camping with our youth. We don't always get to go camping as adults. We do have a little fun, right, Tim?
For sure.
We got to do a little bit of scout stuff last year on the gun range. We got to build a campfire. We got to do a little bit of adult time with each other without youth being around to enjoy our camaraderie. But we also learn a little bit too. Scott Douglas from our territory, incoming commissioner, will be there to speak to us and answer questions. So anybody that's thinking about commissioner service, this is my opportunity to recruit some folks that might want to do this as well and wear the fancy looking red patch on their uniform. Next slide, let's see what we got here. Oh, we're at the unit service questions for the commissioner or anyone, and you see this email popping up again. It is our central inbox. When this email is placed in your browser and you type to it, it comes to myself, it comes to you, Nat, and I forget a few other people, but if you're finding it hard to get an answer to a question, if you just have a burning desire to talk about something that you want to get in front of a volunteer on, you can send it directly to me through this unit email. Several of you already have my email address. You can email me directly, but this way I see this pop up in my inbox. I know that it's something I respond to that day. It doesn't mean I've answered the question. It just means I've got your email. I'm going to find the answer and I'm going to make sure it gets out to you. So please keep that email handy. Do we have anything else on the slide deck?
That's all on the slide.
So folks, it is 7:58 and I feel like we delivered a lot of content. Thanks to Tim and Jordan and Sophie. Thank you all for being on the call. This is recorded. So we're going to make sure that it gets out to the audience of folks it needs to be in front of. And if you have other folks that are saying, hey, what happened in the virtual forum last night? You say, my gosh, there was so much great information. You can't wait to watch this stuff. We got to get to it. So thanks very much, Nat, for putting the technology together for us tonight.
Thank you guys. Great job. Have a good evening.